I was sitting in the Park and Meridian in New York in the hotel there, and I was getting ready to do something. I can't remember if it was a business deal or an appearance or something. I get a phone call, and it was Triple H, the son-in-law. He goes, "Hey, Terry, we heard you didn't resign, you know, and you know, Vince wants to talk to you." I said, "Yeah, man, put him on the phone or whatever, or call me." I can't remember exactly how it happened, but he goes, "I'd like to come back and you to come back up here, you know, and wrestle The Rock, you know." I said, "Yeah, that might work." And so we cut a deal, and I went back. And
were you happy to be back? Did you feel like you're back home or no? Was it? It's kind of like, you know, you're a player, you're playing for one team, and you have a run, you win a couple of World Series or Super Bowls or championships, whatever you want to call it. Then you get traded, and you kind of go, and you're at a team. You're like, yeah, whatever, I'll come and show up and play the 82 games, the 162 baseball, whatever it is. But man, I'm a real Yankee. Yeah, I'm a true Laker.
Right.
Did you feel like you're coming home back to the Yankees?
Yeah, I did. I felt like I was coming home, and you know, the whole idea was for me to come in as the bad guy, you know, to wrestle The Rock. And of course, I wanted Kevin and Scott, my partners, to come with me from the NWO. And when we were going in there, we talked and said, "Hey guys, you know, these guys in the dressing room, we've been going against them for 10 years, so we might not get a warm welcome when we walk in there. So you better be ready." But we had Big Kev to hide behind, you know. So we came in, and the guys were pretty cool in the dressing room. You know, they knew it was business, but it just felt a little strange, you know. And then once I went out in the ring, you know, and got in the middle of the ring with The Rock in Chicago, and I listened to people, I said, "Oh, yeah, they're with me."
They still love you.
Yeah, and I was the bad guy.
You're right.
You know, so I did everything I could to be an evil guy. I hit The Rock in the head with a hammer. I put him in an ambulance. I put chains around the ambulance. I ran over the ambulance with a semi twice. Did everything I could to get him hating on me.
Yeah.
And so WrestleMania 18, I go out to wrestle The Rock, and they just cheer me out of the place. You know, because they're just loyal to a fault, the wrestling fans.
Yeah, that's got to be. And by the way, was it something where is there also a love affair with different fans, or to you it's just my fans no matter where I go? You know, it's a different kind of a love you get from your kid and a different kind of a love you get from your wife, you know, somebody you love, mom, sibling, friend, versus the fan love is different. Would you say there's a different affinity with the fans? When they do something, they're like, "Man, you guys still care about me. You guys still pay attention. I'm still selling out. I still matter." Is there that kind of a feeling?
Yeah, it's real. It's transparent with the fans because, you know, not only do they watch Hulk Hogan, the character, and they've seen the sacrifices. I mean, I got this wrestling business in my blood. You know, I had a chance to do the movie thing and stuff like that. And after about 22 movies or whatever, I tapped out and I came back to wrestling. And, you know, I had a chance to get launched with Bob Evans at Paramount and do the John Wayne thing. I'm going back to wrestling. But it's just so weird because when you think about the fans, it's more than just fans and a character. They know me as a person now, and they've seen me make mistakes career-wise. They've seen me make mistakes personally. They've seen me crash and burn career-wise. They've seen me crash and burn personally. I've got so many scars on me from being a real person. I'm more like them now, and they can relate to me. Oh, my gosh, Hulk Hogan, Terry does make mistakes in business and in his personal life. And you know what? It makes you just more tangible to them. Like you feel like you're more with the people when they see what you've gone through, and you still stand up. You still keep moving forward, you know?
Right. You know, the president and I were talking last week, and I said there's three phases every father and son goes through. You idolize them, you demonize them, you humanize them, right? And sometimes that happens with your voters, for you, with your fans. Everybody idolizes the Hulk. Then they demonize him. You know what? I can't stand him because... And there's like, "Oh, man, I love this guy. Humanize him. He's human like me," right? It's like that one famous song that I think Geico uses. What's the song? "I'm only human," right? Who sings that song? Born to Make Mistakes. You know what song that is, right? So going back to it with wrestling, you're saying you came back to your love wrestling. Was it you came back to your love wrestling, or you came back to your partner and the guy you like working with the most, Vince? Which of the two would you say was more of?
Well, it was both. Now, I really love working with Eric. You know, he was wide open for suggestions, you know, and he kind of let me run amok, which was cool. Vince would kind of like keep a little harness on me, when I come up with some crazy ideas. Eric was more open, and in saying that, as much as I loved working with Eric, it was really fun to actually come back home and get in that big machine and that banner of protection that Vince and the whole WWE has for you, and they make sure things are done right.
Yeah.
And, when you go to do an appearance or when you go to the ring or when you're involved with them, I mean, they don't miss a beat, and there's no holes in their boat. That's why I like going back there.
Was there a, there's a difference when you're working with a guy who is green, phase one Vince, right? 81, 82, whatever the year was when you guys spoke, when he's like, hey, let's go do this together. My dad can't know, but let's you and I go do this, right? So that's a green Vince. Hey, I'm going to do better than my dad and XYZ. Then you leave, then you see a losing Vince, 83 weeks, Eric Bischoff, all the stuff that you guys are doing. What did you notice change with him where he recreated himself from the 82 guy to the 90 guy to the guy when he came back with him and The Rock when the Triple H called you?
Well, when I left Minnesota and I went back to wrestle the Iron Sheik, Vince didn't play music on the way to the ring. I did, with all my guys. Vince didn't sell any merchandise at the time. I was doing that in Minnesota. I was actually making more money selling merchandise than the wrestling part. So when I came in and they saw how the music worked, oh my gosh, then all the wrestlers wanted entrance music, And then when they saw how the merchandise was selling, oh my gosh, Vince went, oh my gosh, merchandise? Let me try, get in this thing. And he became just a monster at it. Whatever he did, he really capitalized on it. He really turned it into something huge and great. So I saw him develop over the 80s and turn this into this international juggernaut. But then when I came back, with the internet and all the different vehicles they had to sell the merchandise, it just wasn't arena sales or mail order anymore. They had everything in place with the social media and this and that. And it was like coming back to, oh my gosh, they're just set you up for greatness. They can take a guy that's lukewarm milk that might look like a bag boy in a grocery store and make him a superstar with a machine. Oh my gosh, what a machine this is now. They've got this thing down to a science. That was the difference when I went back. I said, my gosh, when I say there's no holes in their boat, there are no holes in the boat.
But did you feel an energy about him where something was different about him? You're like, he no longer second guesses himself. Something's different in his eyes, the way he talks to you. Like, did you sense something else? Like, he has better generals. What was it about him? Well, did you feel anything about him?
The only thing I saw with him was he was so hands-on. He worked even harder than before. It kind of caught me off guard because, when I was there before, I didn't have to deal with writers. Everything I said, such as the speech at the Republican convention, that's all me. I wouldn't read the teleprompter. That's not how I do things, It's always been instinct and feel as an art form. You got to listen with your ears and your heart. And so you know how to work a room, And so when I went back, all of a sudden they got 25 writers, and they're assigning me a writer to write my promo for me. I mean, this kid that's 26 years old, that used to work for NBC, is going to tell Hulk Hogan how to be Hulk Hogan. I was like, really? So I would be going out to open the show, and I'd be standing at the gorilla position, which is right before you walk out of the curtain to go in a live crowd, and a writer would come up and hand me a stack of papers. They were hot. They just printed them. I looked at Vince. I said, really? Are you kidding me? He goes, no, don't worry about it, Terry. I just throw the papers up and walk out and do my thing. But what I saw with Vince was he was working harder than before. Even with the 25 writers,
respect.
He would grab the show and then we're going live at 8 o'clock. He'd grab the show at 6 o'clock and rewrite the whole show himself, and then there'd be a post-production meeting. If you're the main event, you're in the building at like 11 or 11:30. He'd have a post-production meeting. You'd stay in the room till 2 a.m. I'd run back to the hotel room. He'd be banging on my door. Let's go work out. Come on, monster. Let's go. I said, are you crazy? I ain't going out there. I'm going to go work out with you at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. But that's what he did.
No shit.
Oh yeah, and he was working harder than ever.
Did he ever tell you where that fire came from? Was there like was there a chip like, I'm going to prove to you guys that I'm above and beyond everybody? Or was it just in the love of the game?
He loved it, man. He just loved the business.
Wow. Was he fun to be around? Even the last,
yeah, he was. And he had his family with him. He had this monster, I called it the slave ship because, just fly with me to Monday Night Raw. He wouldn't let you off the plane. Come back to Connecticut. Go here with me. This, that. I used to tease him. I used to call it the slave ship because, he had his family on there. He had his daughter with him. Shane was on the plane a lot. He had his son-in-law there. So he was like traveling. He had his whole family with him. So why go home? Let's just keep working.
Yeah.
But his work ethic is you can't touch it.
And the dynamics of the family, the way they made it work was, again, the documentary was very interesting to me. The son, what he wanted to do and who he wanted to be. I kind of liked his son in the documentary as well. And the daughter, Stephanie, with Triple H, and then all the different stories with, Bret Hart. It was just all the emotions mixed into one. It's got to be the best documentary of the year, Rob. I mean, there's a lot of great documentaries. That's got to be one of the best documentaries of the year. You're going to think I'm crazy when I tell you this, but the last 13 and a half years, I've been working on my first fiction book to write, ever. Fiction book to write. And while I finished this book, a year ago, I got the strangest phone call about one of the characters in the book where the guy wanted to meet with me, and he read the book. And afterwards, was like, wait a minute, am I the villain in the book? This is a story about a character named Asher, who is half Armenian, half Assyrian, whose father was involved in the Iranian Revolution, linked to Savak, working with the Shah, that they escape and he gets recruited to a secret society. Well, when you go to the secret society, it's been around for a couple thousand years. They've developed some of the craziest leaders of all time. And they test you. There's unique tests that they have at this society where they test to see your emotional mental toughness. One of the tests that they have is very rigorous. It's purely mental. Of course, there's a physical one, but one is mental and emotional. If you're Armenian, if you're Syrian, if you're Persian, this is a book you're going to be reading and saying, holy moly, this is the kind of stuff you talk about in here? Yes. If you're somebody that's fascinated by history, this is a book for you. Characters. There's a technology that this society, secret society, builds where you go into a vault. I won't spoil it for you. When you go down, they have a technology where you get to sit down and watch and have a 3-4 hour conversation with Tupac. You can set up a debate between Karl Marx and Ayn Rand. Karl Marx is in the book, who wrote Communist Manifesto. Ayn Rand, who wrote Atlas Shrugged, is in the book. Marilyn Monroe explains the concept of seduction and sex in the book. When you read the book, it's about development of the next leaders in the world and how they do it and how they've been doing it for many years. And it's also about how to prevent the end of civilization and how this organization goes about doing it. So, I've never written a parenting book before, but if I ever wrote a parenting book, this is the closest thing to it because it's all mindset, a lot of crazy stories. Again, 13 and a half years. Trust me, I told myself I will not publish this book until I sell my insurance company and I'm fully disconnected from it, where it's no longer my responsibility 100%. When you read this, if you're a creative person, if you like fiction books, if you enjoyed Atlas Shrugged, or if you enjoy Divergent, if you like books like that, I think you're going to enjoy reading this book. It's the creative side. Business books is very easy. Here's how you do it. Here's how this how it works. This is very creative. If you haven't placed the order yet, now you can order it on Simon & Schuster, Amazon. I'm going to put the link up below somewhere here, maybe even in my profile. Go order the book and read it. I've never written a book where I can't wait to read your reviews to see what you think about this book. So I'm going on this wild journey, and we have some plans with this book here. If you support the things that I work on, I would appreciate you going and reading the book, order the book on Amazon, and then post a review.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.